Hey, welcome back to Reliable Sources. I'm Brian Stelter. Do third-party candidates stand a chance in this election? And regardless of the answer, should news outlets like CNN pay more attention to them? We looked at 5 of the most recent polls that included more than just Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump for president. Libertarian Party candidate Gary Johnson is getting between 7 and 10% support, although he's only hit the double-digit mark among voters in 1 of the 5. Green Party candidate Jill Stein is getting 3 to 7% support in a hypothetical 4-way contest. But here's the more interesting finding. According to Quinnipiac's poll, Stein has only a 2% favorability rating. Sounds tiny, right? But check this out. 88% of registered voters haven't heard enough about her to have an opinion. So that explains the low numbers. So what I want to ask is, what is a third-party candidate to do in order to be taken seriously by both voters and the media? And Dr. Jill Stein joins me right now, a Green Party candidate for president. Dr. Stein, you were on track to be the party's nominee like you were in 2012. Back then, you had less than 1% of the popular vote. What is different about 2016?
I think we were ahead of the curve in 2012, and in 2016, the issues we were talking about in 2012 are the issues of the campaign now. That is, the need for jobs, the need to get students out of debt. We're the only campaign calling for canceling student debt like we did for the crooks on Wall Street who crashed the economy. We're calling for free public higher education. We were back there in 2012. Now virtually all the candidates are recognizing that is a crisis. We've been ahead of the curve on the climate, the need to create a Green New Deal that addresses both our jobs.
You sound to me a lot like Bernie Sanders.
Or maybe vice versa, because we were here 4 years ago saying these things. And I think, what we have in common with Sanders is that neither of us take money from lobbyists, from the big super PACs and the PACs. And I think that is very much what the American people are clamoring for.
What are you doing today to court Sanders supporters, to bring them over to the Green Party?
Mainly what we're doing is getting the word out in every way that we can.
Are you finding that to be difficult? I've noticed you were on CNN's New Day recently. CNN had a libertarian town hall. Are you finding that the media is taking third and fourth parties more seriously this year?
Absolutely. And we're waiting for that town hall as well, because we've gone from 2% to 7% in the polls with virtually no coverage at all on mainstream media. There's been a virtual blackout on our campaign, unlike the Johnson campaign.
When you say blackout, do you think it's intentional, this relative lack of coverage? I think one factor, for example, is that right now you're not on the ballot in all 50 states. The Libertarian Party has made a lot more progress toward getting on the ballot in various states. Do you think blackout's intentional?
Actually, the reality is that we're almost on as many states right now as the Libertarians. They're just using this as a promotion campaign to say that they are going to be on the ballot in all states. Well, we are also working to get on the ballot in all states. There's no doubt we are going to be on the ballot for just about every voter. We're already on for a majority of voters all across the country. Voters have not only a right to a vote, but they have a right to know who they can vote for. So we're fighting for coverage. I encourage people to go to my website, jill2016.com, and join the team to actually open up this election, because this is what voters are actually clamoring for in this race. We have the highest disapprovals, the highest untrust ever for the mainstream candidates, for Clinton and for Trump.
Right.
People are clamoring for something else. Let's give them what they are demanding.
Let me ask you about how it's going to work in the fall, though, because the Commission on Presidential Debates requires 15% support from an average of 5 national polls in order to get on the debate stage. Right now, Johnson's closer than you are, but both of you are quite below the 15% threshold. A, do you think that the Commission has to change that threshold? And B, do you think it's possible you could get to 15% by the fall?
So first, we have tripled our numbers in 1 month without any mainstream coverage. So if we just begin to get more of what you're doing today, we could very well see those numbers begin to rise. We could get to 15%. But we have challenged the 15% rule because, the League of Women Voters said when they quit the Commission on Presidential Debates about 20 years ago, they quit saying that this was a fraud being perpetrated on the American voter because the way the dialogue is basically limited to silence opposition, to silence political opposition, and that's not what a democracy is. We think that if a candidate is on the ballot for the majority of voters and could actually win the election, voters have a right to know who that candidate is.
Let me ask you before I have to go, I think some liberals would be worried about you taking votes away from Clinton in the fall when you're on the ballots in various states. What do you say to people who are worried that you might help get Donald Trump elected?
I think what we need to do is flip the vote. You know, we have a majority of voters who are clamoring for something else. Even the majority of Trump supporters don't support Trump. They simply oppose Hillary Clinton. And the majority of Clinton supporters don't actually support her. They actually oppose Donald Trump. And the majority of people are calling for something else, something with integrity, something that is not bought and paid for by the big players, by the big banks and the war profiteers. We need an honest broker. I am a physician, not a politician. I don't take money from the usual sources. What you see is what you get from the Green Party. We are of, by, and for the people, so we can stand up for what it is that people are actually clamoring for right now.
Dr. Stein, thank you for being here this morning. Great talking with you.
Great talking with you, Brian.
Coming up here on Reliable Source.